Hey everybody, Adam here, back with another video, and this one is going to be a fun one. It's about research paper writing tips. So I've got 8 tips that I'm going to share with you throughout this video, and I'm going to dive right into it. But before I start, I just wanted to say that I'm sure you have your own research writing process that really works for you, and I wanted to acknowledge that because these tips that I'm going to explain are not meant to just completely uproot your strategy. I think one of the most important things is having a rhythm and feeling comfortable when you're doing any research paper writing. So I would never suggest that you completely change your process. All of the tips that I'm suggesting are meant to lift your process and help you save extra time. So it's meant to be more of a cushion and helping you, save time across your process and make yourself more efficient. So yeah, let me just dive into the 8 really quickly, and then I'll do a deeper dive one by one as to how to accomplish each of those tips. So the first tip that I have is uploading materials in bulk at the very beginning of your process. So the main idea here is to just have awareness of all of the resources that could possibly go into your paper. Number 2 would be conducting a thorough content analysis on that content, which means kind of immersing yourself within the materials at the very beginning and learning about your references. Number 3 would be establish a thesis early. So try your best to draft a concise thesis statement, and through the content analysis, that should be possible. Number 4 would be leverage subfolders and create arguments based on your thesis. Number 5 is writing in rhythm. So I do think it's important to literally structure time and aim to have a goal for your writing process, so you're not just cramming a paper at the very end of your cycle. Know your due date in advance and plan out, how much time you might need. I was never the type of person who would block off hours of time or anything like that, because that would just really put pressure on me and I would feel like I wasn't writing in rhythm. But I would make an effort to make some type of progress at least once a day. And it doesn't need to be that long. So that's how I did writing in rhythm, and I have a specific special tactic that I use for that now that I'll tell you. And then number 6 would be continuously edit. This could seem self-explanatory, but I'll just show you what I do for editing. It's not completely overkill or anything, but it's a thorough process. Number 7 would be connect your knowledge base. And that's a process that really helps you save time over the long run, because you're not consistently losing track of where things are. So this really helps towards the end of your paper. And it's if you can establish connections up front, and I'll show you how to do this, it'll help you save a bunch of time and actually save a lot of frustration. And it also helps you learn more. It helps you have a more enriching experience writing the paper, so you come out with new knowledge. And the last tip, number 8, is collaborate and get involved with other people early. Have your friends review your research. Have your friends, give feedback on your subfolder structure, on your thesis. Talk to people about your content analysis. The more your research paper writing process is collaborative, the better. It's more fun that way. Don't feel I know that some folks like to just write, stay in their lane, but I think the more you can collaborate, the more ideas you have, the easier it'll be. So yeah, let's just dive right into each tip one by one. And I'm not going to linger too much. My goal here is to provide an overview that you can apply. I would never, please do not watch this video and go and just copy everything I'm saying. It's more, this is a way that you can accomplish aspects of your process faster. So let's just go right into it. All right, so what we're looking at here is a dashboard of all of these research hubs. So the first step obviously would be to upload materials one time. This is definitely an ideal. In the very beginning of your research paper, I'm sure that you have some type of knowledge bank or archive that's been shared with you by a professor, a colleague, a project manager, whoever you're working with. hopefully gives you some, background information about what you're doing. If you're doing it from complete scratch, then there is a process before this step, which would be actually searching for new information, or perhaps you're the person developing the information for the very first time. So at that point, just gather any material that is relevant to your research paper. And what I've done is I've actually preloaded a couple of things, and I'll show you what I mean. I've just gone ahead and clicked this button in the top right corner to upload files. And there's this upload button here that if you click it, it'll open up everything on my computer, and I can just literally pull stuff in. So I'll just show you what that looks like real quick. So I have a couple of PDFs that I've gathered from Google, which is like annual reports on certain large management consulting firms. So I'll just take this PwC report real quick and just put it in so I can show you what that looks like. So that's how you upload a single file. You can do as many files as you want at once. You can click that plus button, or if you have all of your files on your desktop, you can just click and drag them and plop them into here easily. You can also do this from within each hub. So those little squares on the screen behind the viewing, they are hubs, and you can just click into those, and then you can do the same thing. You can either click the plus button and upload materials in bulk one time, or you can just drag and drop them. So yeah, there's this PwC report. You can double click it here, and then you're able to view the report just from your dashboard like this. So yeah, it's loading. There we go. Boom. It's right in front of your face, and this is a great way to just be able to check your materials if you don't even have them in a hub yet. But yeah, I do a lot of content analysis this way, whether it's ad hoc from the dashboard or within a hub. So from here, I can actually add it to the hub itself. So I'll just add it to this one that I'm using for this video, and then it should have gone right inside. So let's just click into here real quick, and I'll show you how I do my second step, which is content analysis. So boom, here is the PDF that we just loaded, and it's inside of this hub with all of this other information. So imagine you had already bulk uploaded everything. If you just take another attachment that someone sends to you over email, you would just plop it in here, and you'd be able to immediately start analyzing this content against what you've already created. So what I've done is I've clicked Zen mode right here in the top right corner, and this allows me to blow up my screen and essentially reduce a bunch of my distractions while I'm reading. So if I'm reading this for the first time, I would usually look at it in single screen mode like this, so I can really just immerse myself, and I can zoom in even further just like this. And at this point, I'm just becoming extremely immersed within the material. That's really core to writing a research paper, because you need to know everything about your references in order to have the most deep insights about what you want to write and how to inform your thesis. So I would go through each of these articles and read them, and I would take notes at the same time. And I do that by going into this split screen mode like this. And so, for the sake of the video, I can just make a new draft right here by clicking this little plus in the bottom right. And then the note comes here. So I have this blank screen where I can start writing. And essentially I can just say notes on, notes for February, because it's February right now. And this is just like scratch work for me, but I can just begin, taking aspects of what I'm reading and applying it. So just take that, boom, little formatting. And one of the good things about Kahana is that it's immediately integrated with Grammarly if you already have Grammarly installed. So when we get to the sixth step, which is editing, I'll explain like how I use Grammarly to edit really quickly. But yeah, that's how I do content analysis. I just have everything right in my face. And honestly, you can also just have everything here that you see on the computer screen on your phone too. So that really helps you if you're not able to just have immediate access to your laptop or your desktop. And if you're on your phone, you can always be reading PDFs. If you're on the bus, if you are on a train, you can just continuously analyze the content and still take notes using this platform Kahana while you're on your phone. So yeah, I think that's a pretty valuable point about it. Like this is what it looks like on your phone. You can just have all your hubs there, and if you click inside, you'll be able to see your materials. So yeah, like this is what it looks like too. You can have like your PDF in there. But yeah, that's how I do content analysis. I don't think I want to go any further on that because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Just have everything in one window. As you can see, there's not like multiple tabs open. It's not like I opened up a billion Google Docs one by one or had multiple PDFs just floating around on my screen. Everything is in one place. And if I want to go and switch to another resource, I easily can just from here. And I have a lot of PDFs in here and a lot of web pages in here. So then after that, the next step would be establishing your thesis. So let's just rename this new note to thesis. And what I usually do is I put the thesis at the very top of my draft list. And that's because it's just informing the entire research paper. And if you've never written a thesis before, I would recommend checking out our blog article that we just posted about how to write compelling pieces of content. So I'll put the link to that article in the description of this video, but it really does a great job of explaining how to write a thesis and why to write a thesis. I'm not going to be able to make up some BS thesis right now because I don't have your topic. So, I don't think there's any real point in me trying to write a thesis now. The point is that you just want to address the thesis early. I would do the content analysis and then attempt to write a concise 1 to 2 sentence thesis and place it at the very top of your hub. So if anything, I would just say like, I just erase this and say thesis goes here and just make that super obvious so you don't forget. And the cool thing about this program is you can literally just duplicate these hubs. So if you ever want to just make a copy of past research or a past structure that you did for research paper, all you have to do is go back to your dashboard and then right click anything and click duplicate, and it'll just create another copy of it exactly the way it used to be. So this is super helpful if you just want to benefit from prior research that you did. So I just thought it was worth showing that. So yeah, first 3 steps: upload materials one time in bulk. Second step, content analysis, meaning read everything side by side while you take notes in one window. And then 3, establish your thesis. Number 4 would be subfolders for your arguments. So I've actually done that already here. And essentially, I've got a folder for initial research. I've got a folder for data capture systems. And just so you know, if you hadn't noticed, I guess, the point of this hub that you're seeing is all about patient centricity, which is a topic I'm super interested in. And there's multiple different factors that go into this topic. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but there's the history of how clinical trials have been structured in the past. There's how patient enrollment and patient retention play a factor in the costs required to bring a drug to market now. There are data capture systems, which are what you would expect them to be. They're just softwares that gather patient data and data about the clinical trial that are required to actually make sure that the drug gets approved. So that's a factor within the process of bringing a drug to market, and that's why I've created a subfolder on data capture systems. It's such a large part of clinical trials that I decided to make it its own portion. I thought it was in of itself a main point that would support my thesis about patient centricity. So my recommendation here is just to simply make a subfolder whenever you have a topic or a subtopic underneath your thesis that's large enough to merit one. So there's multiple different facets of data capture systems, and there's a whole gambit of different technologies that I wanted to include in this subfolder. The way you make a subfolder is just go to your top right of your drafts list and just click this little folder, and that'll create a subfolder. It'll just pop up right at the top of your drafts list, and there you go. There's your new folder. So I would just create any new folder and say, main argument, or I would just call this argument one for your sake. So if you want to make multiple arguments in advance, you can just do that with multiple folders like this. And then it's really easy to just pluck up, resources or drafts and put them in here. So you can just do this just like that by clicking and dragging. I'll put these back because I'm actually using this. And then you can do the same thing with your resources on the left side. So I'll just create a new folder like this, and let's just call it HIPAA materials. And what you can do is just pluck up any PDF or doc here and just put it into the subfolder like that. And yeah, that's how it's done. And then if you want to minimize it so you don't have to see it anymore, you can, just like this. Boom. So that's the fourth tip, would be create subfolders based on your arguments. That'll help you stay more concise throughout your process, so you can kind of begin writing your research paper in a more modular way. It's not like you have so much floating stuff on one layer. You want to take all that stuff and then begin to split it into groupings underneath as subtopics within subfolders. So then the next step would be number 5. My tip would be write in rhythm. So this is pretty simple, but it's probably the hardest one to accomplish. I literally can't stand, starting up my research process by opening up, a lot of different links and files one by one, and then kind of staring at a blank text editor. I just think it's so demoralizing. So what I would recommend is instead using this process and, creating a very simplistic view for yourself where you can just focus on what you're writing and really just have the ideal environment so you're not getting distracted. So I use Zen mode for this, where I just click this button, and at this point I can't see notifications on my screen. It's literally just a combination of all of the things I'm going to need for my research paper and the actual paper that I'm writing. And then this really helps me a lot. And the more I can be in Zen mode on a weekly basis, the better. And the way I track that is this little sparkle thing in the top right corner, which is what we call a flow streak. So this literally is our way of kind of hacking our own habits for research paper writing. And it just keeps track of how many times you go into Kahana every single week. So I'm on a current 11-day flow streak, meaning I've gone in here 11 days in a row and have made some level of progress. It's not like go write 1,000 words or anything. You don't have to set a word count or anything. You can check your word count here. So right now there's 3 words here. Here there's 155. But the flow streak is just it's kind of like an honor system for yourself to just try to make progress every day. It's not the end of the world if you keep losing, or if you lose a flow streak, you get to 5 and it's the weekend and you forget. But it's just a good way to kind of strive to stay in rhythm and write every day if you can. So that's our fun little way of writing in rhythm. The 6th tip would be edit. Very simple. Make sure you're editing constantly. You do have to edit at some point. I think I definitely have, I've definitely made the mistake of waiting till the end to edit, and it can take more time. It always takes probably 3 times more time to edit than you actually allocate or think it will. So what I've done is I've actually installed Grammarly into my browser, so you can see your plugins by clicking this little puzzle piece on the top right corner of your browser. I'm using Google Chrome, so depending on what your browser you're using, this is going to vary. But I have Grammarly for Chrome here installed, and I have essentially you can access this on the top on the bottom right corner of your text editor in Kahana. So I can even see, how my language is coming across, whether it's confident, optimistic, formal. That isn't really something I care about. I care more about just pure grammar checking. So all I have to do is hover over text and just, update it based on what Grammarly's saying. Usually it does a pretty good job. I don't blindly, you know, just change everything. I go through one by one and I read while I actually edit. But this is definitely a nice companion to essentially just polish off your writing in your notes while you're in the process of formulating your research paper. So yeah, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. As long as you have Kahana and Grammarly at the same time, you're going to be really making smooth editing process across your research paper, and that's why I have it as a tip. So the seventh tip is connect your knowledge base. And I'm sure you're wondering about these links in the notes, and they're not actually hyperlinks. They're something else. They're called smart links. And there's this big button here called smart link. That's how you create one. And the entire point of them is to actually connect all of your uploads and resources that you've bulk added to this hub to the text that corresponds to it. So this solves a problem that I had for the longest time, which was I would be able to hyperlink like tabs within my research paper and include them as citations. Everybody knows like MLA formatting and all that. It's not that easy to do. Like, yeah, you kind of have to plug in your article into some like bibliography tool if you don't know how to write out the format. I've been taught how to write the format, but it takes so much time to do that, so this is a quicker way to just connect your resources throughout your note-taking process before you're really ready to confirm your citations at the end. And you can take these resources and make them into citations at the end of your process. But while you're still in the process of formulating your paper, the smart link function allows you to connect your knowledge base, which is what the hub is. It's a base of all of the things that go into your paper. So having a smart link to your upload just allows you to have it pop up in your face in one click. It just pulls up in your face. So if you're referencing what you're writing and you want to know where the original piece, where the note came from and just get back into the original piece, you could do that through a smart link. If I forgot where this came from or I wanted to reference this data, I couldn't just click the smart link and then I have it right there for me. So this is a super interesting way to save a bunch of time, instead of having a bunch of files and docs minimized which I used to do, minimized, and like pulling each one up individually and like scanning and using Control F to find stuff. Like, you don't have to do that. You can just use this. And this is the only platform on earth actually that does this, oddly enough. So, if you're the type of person who's doing a research paper which involves, dozens of Word docs, PDFs, tabs, all at the same time, and you're struggling to keep them organized and keep them at the forefront, I would highly recommend putting them into a hub and using smart links up front to just have even an index for yourself. So that's actually what I've done across my process. I have a bunch of hubs that have a bunch of smart links in them because of that exact reason. And yeah, the last tip that I have, and thank you so much for staying with me during this entire video. I know it's a bit long, but I think that, these tips could really help you if you're doing the type of research paper that I'm talking about with all these materials. So the last tip would be collaborate. The great thing about using a hub is that you can just click this collaborate button in the top right corner and create a shareable link right away. So from the very beginning of your process, even if you only have a thesis and you have a couple of resources and you've only written, maybe your abstract, you can still just take this link, copy it, and send it on Slack. You can send it through email. You can send it through your phone. You can send it on Teams. You can send it the only way you can't send it is through the mail. Like, you can send this any possible way on the internet, and anybody who opens it up will just see exactly what you're seeing right here. So you can just get immediate feedback and get a better understanding of how is your thesis. Is it good? Does it make sense? Does it flow logically with your arguments in your subfolders? Does it make sense given the resources in here? Anybody who's seeing your hub can help inform you about the direction of your paper. You know, in any collaborative research paper writing setting, I would highly recommend taking advantage of this sharing feature as early as possible and incorporating it throughout your process. You don't necessarily need to be collaborating every day. I know the vast majority of your work will be solitary. You know, you're just you doing content analysis, writing, and editing. But there are really pivotal moments where having a fresh set of eyes can really help you. And it doesn't just need to be during the editing process. You don't want to run into that situation where you've done so much work and then someone's seeing it for the first time and they're like, yeah, this is trash, like, rewrite it. Don't do that. Start early. You know, the more the merrier if it's possible. You know, please collaborate if you can. But yeah, that's the end of the video. That's all 8 tips. And just to recap, it would be tip number 1, upload materials one time as much as you can in bulk. Number 2, do content analysis early and understand all your materials. 3, establish your thesis up front and have it at the very top. Number 4, create subfolders in your arguments based on your thesis and have that structure. Number 5, write in rhythm. 6, edit. 7, connect your knowledge base with smart links. And number 8 would be collaborate as much as you can early and throughout your entire process. So yeah, that's the end of the video. And if you're still with me, I just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting the channel by watching. And if you like what you saw, subscribe to the channel. We'll be making more content like this and taking your feedback. You know, if you have a video that you want us to cover, if you want to know more about how to improve your process, and there's something specific you want us to show you, just let me know in the comments and I'll get right back to you and I'll make a video as soon as I can. And if you like this video, just smash that like button, comment. It really helps us grow. And if you're curious about the platform we were using, which is Kahana, you can sign up for free. It's always been free. It's not even a free trial. It's just completely free. And that link is in the description as well for more information about, you know, blog articles that help with research writing best practice or research paper writing best practices. I've also included that link in the description. So, you know, if you want to read a couple of pieces about like more in-depth things like editing, drafting a thesis, you know, the skills and tactics that go into that, highly recommend the pieces that I've included in the description. Yeah, and thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.